Hailing from the backwoods of New Jersey, welcome to the Jersey Guys Music Podcast, where we feature in-depth music discussions and interviews with special guests from the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, and AOR music. So settle in and crank it up. Now, here are your hosts, the Jersey Guys themselves, Tom and Mark.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jersey Guys podcast. Today we're joined by guitarist Greg Fraser. He's a guy who's best known as a founding member of Brighton Rock. He's also kept the fire burning with projects like Phrase Gang and Stormforce throughout the years. We're going to touch on all that today, but welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure. Pleasure to meet you, and I'm looking forward to talking with you.
Cool. We appreciate the time tonight for sure. Like I said, we're going to get into Brighton Rock. That's probably the thing maybe most people will know you for. But before we get into that, and we talked about it just a few minutes ago before we started, I wanted to talk to you about something that you did, I guess, as a teenager. There was a band called Lennex, Lennex, right?
That's right.
Had a very famous guy involved in producing this album, Mick Ronson. Of course, you know, everybody knows from David Bowie. Talk a little bit about that project and when that was and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was, I would have been about 19 years old. So I'm thinking that might have been like 1981-ish, 82-ish. We were kicking around Ontario and Canada and stuff like that, trying to get a deal and doing all the showcases and really concentrating on originals because we were determined to get a record deal, and we were just getting lukewarm response, and it's like so we decided, why don't we record the record ourselves? We'll do all the graphics, we'll bring in a producer. We ended up getting Mick Ronson, as you mentioned, from David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust fame. He produced the whole record. We lived together in Toronto while we're making the record, so we're hanging out day and night. And the record, we're doing showcases, and we still never got the record deal. All the money we financed ourselves and borrowing money from parents and this and that, and we still couldn't get the deal. So the band at that point broke up, and about a year or two later, I started Brighton Rock. So yeah,
there you go.
It's funny. I just remember something too. I don't know if you remember way back then, if it was 82, but when the Who announced that they're doing their final show in Toronto, right? And we were in Toronto recording the record. So I'm sitting there and the phone rang, and they said, Mick, there's a phone call for you. So he goes, oh, hi, mate. And he's talking, yeah, I'm not sure if I can make the show, mate. I'll try. We should be out of here by maybe 9-ish. I can see if I can pop over, or if not, you can pop over here. And then they're talking. I'm not thinking anything of it. And then he hangs up, and I go, oh, yeah, is that a friend? He goes, yeah, it's Pete Townsend. He's talking to him while I'm right beside him. I'll never forget. They're like, wow, bring him over. Come on, get him on the record and stuff like that. But it never panned out.
well, it's funny because that was their supposed farewell tour back then, right?
That's right. The final show. That was the final show.
Right. Well, I just saw him 2 nights ago. So
here we are 40 years later. They're still
2025.
43 years later.
Yeah.
43 years later, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, Roger Daltrey still sounded great. They played great. So I was real happy to see him.
Oh, and Townsend's still giving it too, or what? Like he wasn't just doing the windmill and all that stuff?
Doing the windmill, yep.
Was he really?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit more of an, a more gingerly, but he was doing it.
Sure. Nice. You don't remember who's on drums, since Zach?
No, I don't know who. I think it was the drummer that played with Roger Daltrey's solo band.
Oh, okay,
right. They got, but I don't know his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, great show. Yeah.
Right.
The farewell show in '82. That was Kenny Jones, right? Was the drummer?
That was Kenny Jones. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're still back there too, and yeah, that was a big hoopla back then.
Yeah, because I remember they simulcast it on WNEW radio, and it was on It was on TV. It was a big deal. It was because
Oh yes.
people really bought into the fact it was their last show. Little did they
Yeah.
know.
Jesus. Just like Kiss and those other bands, they
Right,
keep
right,
we retired
exactly,
honest, Motley Crue, we retired
right.
honest.
Exactly. Yep. So
So,
I know you wanted to go.
well,
Into,
I would like to
start
get
with
into
Brighton Rock.
some Brighton Rock, a band that I was huge into, and
As was I.
would like
Wow,
to
that's
take you into how that band came together and from the inception. I know there was a singer before the singer that we all know. So if you could take us in from the real ground roots of when it started.
yeah. So when Lennox broke up, I was determined, because I got a taste of being in real recording studios, working the producer, and it's like I could feel like I have to get a record deal now. Like it's forget the covers. So I was determined to, instead of going out and starting another band and just going out and playing covers and then gradually add originals, and I thought, no, I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm just going to write originals, and we're going to start shopping it before we even play a live gig, get a band together and just concentrate on making a record. We had a different singer. David McFarlane was the guy. He was a great singer. He lived about an hour and a half away, didn't have a car. So we had to go pick him up and drive him home all the time. But he was a good singer and he looked great, great stage presence. But next thing I know, he goes, guys, my girlfriend got pregnant. I went, oh no. Oh, I can see how it's not gonna work, right? Like it's gonna be, it's this difficult now. Now you're adding a kid to the equation. We got no money. How are you gonna support that kid, right? How are we gonna go on the road? You're gonna have to get a job. So he said, okay, we have to find somebody else. And Gerry McGhee was our singer in Brighton Rock. He was picking around the area too when I was in Lennox with a band called the Rockers. And they were hard rock. So they were playing AC/DC and Black Sabbath and Scorpions and all the good stuff, right? And I seen him a few times, and I went, "Wow, that guy he's got some pipes on him for sure." So my manager in Lennox, he continued to manage me when the band broke up, and he's good friends with Jerry. So I said, "Like the singer I got's not working out." He goes, he suggests, he goes, "Why don't you try Jerry?" I go, "I don't know. I think he might think some of my songs might be wimpy, like "Can't Wait for Night" we were talking about earlier. Like
Yeah.
I just figured that he was just pure heavy metal and nothing but, right. I like stuff. I like Judas Priest is my favorite live band of all time. So I like Judas Priest, but I also like Journey. You know what I mean? So I like everything. So I thought, he's gonna want to just be a heavy metal band, and I didn't really want to be that. I wanted to be like the Scorpions, where they could be hard rock, but still do a ballad and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so they go, just go and have a beer with him. That's my manager said. Okay, I'll go out and meet him. So me and my bass player Stevie Skreebs went and had a beer with him. We start talking. I go, so, like, what do when you're not rocking, like, what do you listen to? He goes, I like listening to Journey and Yes. I went, what? Really? I go, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, well, that's good to know. I thought you were kind of one dimensional, but I guess I couldn't be wrong. So we had some songs recorded with the previous singer. So I said, come on in and just re-record what he sang. I just want to hear what you sound like in the studio. And he said, yeah. And then one of the songs was Can't Wait for the Night. We had different lyrics back then. And when he sang that chorus, it was like, wow, I just goosebumps, because he just raised the bar for that song. It's like, man, that's killer. I think we got our guy, and he was a great guy, and he was really eager, like we were, because that's the problem. You might find the right guy technically, but they might not have the enthusiasm or the drive. That's hard to find that. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Guys have a lot of talent, but they just don't want to go through the grind of going
Right.
on tour and being in crappy motels, making no money, driving all night, sleeping in vans and cars. I mean, it's not for everybody. But
Sure.
he was an old road dog too, and it was like a gift from the gods, and that was it. We never looked back. So then we, found a different drummer, keyboards. We had a few different guys before the album was actually recorded and stuff. But that's how it started. You know,
Hmm.
yeah.
He was a very unique singer in the sense that he could sing the melodic AOR stuff for a guy that had a real rough edge type of rock, and he was able to put it over. Usually those type of singers, they sound awkward when they sing, the more melodic stuff, but he sounded great in the real heavy stuff and the AOR type of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's, like if you hear somebody like Brian Johnson, he's got kind of a similar voice, but he's, to me, I think he's just a rock singer. I can't picture him
That's what I'm
singing a
saying.
nice
Yeah.
soft ballad.
Right.
And
Right.
like you said, Jerry can. And Jerry was a really good mimic too. He could imitate other singers and sound just like them. It was like,
Mm.
wow, I didn't think, he could do Stevie Wonder and he'll sound like Stevie Wonder
Right.
without the grit and stuff, like, isn't she? It was like, man, you can really sing. Yeah, he was a real treat, man. I miss him dearly.
And he was another one of those guys that very unique. Nobody sounded like him. There were only like a handful of singers in that era.
Well, I always
that
thought
were
like
that
he
unique.
had a little bit of like that, like John Oliva, like Sabotage sort of feel,
Sure.
where he could
Yeah.
do the heavy, real heavy stuff, but also, Oliva could sit there in a piano and do some ballady type stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. He was good. Sometimes he could even do like have that Nazareth type of growl,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, but when he did the ballads, he knew how to really tame it down and then kick in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a really dynamic singer for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So how did you guys get signed on that first album? What was the process with that?
In Toronto, every year there's a big radio station which still exists called Q107.
Mhm.
Every year they had the Q107 homegrown contest where bands across the country and I'm assuming from the States would enter and they would release an album, which was pretty good. So then of all the different bands, and then you'd go do a showcase in Toronto and so all the record companies would take notice every time the record got released. It's like, well, you know, all the record companies in Canada and stuff, they all wanted their artists to be on Q107 because that was the biggest station in Canada. It still is.
Mm.
So when they released the record and say, okay, well, if Q107 thinks all these bands are worthy of being on Q107, we got to check them out. So um, we had a song on there which was on their first record called "Breaking Down the Barricade," and it ended up being on the first record. Also, we re-recorded it, but because of that, we got on the record and we did a showcase, and then we got some interest from Warner. It's in Canada, it's WEA, WEA,
Right.
and what that is, it's a combination of three record companies: Warner Brothers, Elektra, and Atlantic.
Right.
So, and that's all over the world. So in the States, you got the three separate record companies, but over in Europe, it's just WEA, WEA, and in Canada, WEA. So they took some notice and they just like, we want you guys, but you guys got to get some more songs. So
Right.
because all we had is a couple of songs, we just kept feeding them more songs. Feeding more. Oh, we love it. Keep going, and then gradually we had enough for a record, and then we started doing some showcase. I remember the guy, Bob Roper, the guy that signed us, he came, he wanted to see us, and we had to scramble to do a showcase. So we managed to get a club like on a Wednesday night, like a last minute type of thing. And hardly anybody was there. It was a snowstorm. He shows up, the place is almost dead. We're going, oh, can you believe it? This is our shot.
Yeah.
And there's nobody here. Oh, well, let's just go up there and give it. So we went up there and pretend we were in Madison Square Gardens and just went for it.
Yeah.
And then about 3 songs in, the PA cuts out and everything's like, of course it does. Of course it's meant to be, right? So
Yeah.
while they're trying to scramble, we go down and sit with Bob. So Bob goes, "You did fantastic, man. I love it." It's like, really? So, next thing you know, we signed a deal with them, and it ended up being a worldwide record deal, like all over Europe and stuff. And then we we ended up signing with Adco Atlantic Records in the States. So that was great. So we were released all over the world, and our dream was coming true.
Right, right. Well, like I was saying before we started, Tom and I both discovered Brighton Rock on a college radio station here in New Jersey. And that's how we found out. We heard Can't Wait for the Night being played on a station. And I was like, who are these guys? And went out and I think I bought the cassette.
Well, so that was the first song you heard. So you never, because our first single was We Came to Rock, and Can't Wait for the Night was our second singles, but you heard our second single first, right?
Yeah, that's the first song I heard. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So our first song you heard was a ballad.
Yeah. Hey, but it hooked me,
Oh, great. Yeah. Thank you.
Now that first album, excuse me, was kind of like a mixture of softer stuff and heavier stuff. It was like, I think out of all three of your, excuse me again, all three of your albums, it was, kind of like a combination of both styles of music. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't want to be one dimensional where you're pigeonholed, like I love Judas Priest. I love AC/DC. If AC/DC decided to do a ballad, people would lose their minds. It's like they expect that sound no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I like bands like the Scorpions where they're not afraid to put a ballad out and killer songs, So I wanted to be more like that, where you could mix it up. So when you go see the band live, you're not getting beaten up for songs. Just bam, 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 bam. And after a while, I find if it's too heavy all the time, you start to not appreciate the heaviness. So when you kind of break things up and slow things down, maybe have a ballad in there, and then your next song punches them right in the face again. It's like, wow. So, you get dynamics. You brings back up and down and stuff like that. So
all the great bands had that.
I always said that with like Sabotage, you had like light and dark.
To me, that was the best. I always loved those bands.
Yeah.
I mean, even like Led Zeppelin. They have a song like Kashmir, but they'll have Stairway to Heaven or something. Like it's
exactly.
It's Not that I'm comparing us to Led Zeppelin by any means, but
yeah. Well, the other thing you guys had going for you, and I'll tell you what, until this day, I still just the look that you guys had on that first album cover. Young, Wild, and Free. I mean, we talked about this band, Glass Tiger a little bit earlier when we had Alan Frew on recently, but you guys had that really, but they had that really great look in their early days. And you guys, when you looked at you guys, it's like the perfect, and I hate to use this, I know Tom even hates it, but the hair band, look, I mean, you just had the great look, but then you put the album on and like you say, you hear the heavy songs and the, and it's just, and then you get a little bit of the ballads and stuff too. It was a great mix of everything.
Oh, well, thank you. It's funny because you said Can't Wait for the Night was the first song you heard. I remember reading, because I used to have subscription to Circus Magazine and Cream and Hit Parader and Metal Edge. And I remember, I'm pretty sure might have been Hit Parader, when our first record just got released, and they were interviewing Pete Way, from the bass player from UFO, which I'm a humongous fan. Like Michael Schenker is God to me, so I'm a huge UFO fan. And I'm reading it, and they said, what do you think of these bands? So they'd play a song, and he'd look at the picture and tell you what he thinks, right? So I'm looking, and then it says Brighton Rock, Can't Wait for the Night. I went, no, and he goes, this song sounds like they look wimpy. I went, no, we're not wimpy. We got heavy songs. Don't judge us just by that ballad. So I literally wrote to Hit Parader saying, for those out there, I love Pete Way, but we're not just a ballad band. We're a heavy band, and actually printed my response, which was kind of cool back then. But I was devastated because I was
well, he's full of shit. They did plenty of ballads too. UFO.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
so,
love to love.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. But,
really, UFO. If you look at them in the complete, they weren't a heavy metal band at all. They were they were a straight up rock band.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, killer band, man. I still listen to them to this day.
Sure. Forget about it. God love.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Just as a side note, and most people don't agree with me, I was always bigger on them when Paul Chapman was in the band as opposed to Schenker. I like the
Yeah.
Paul Chapman 80s stuff. even
Oh,
better.
for sure.
Yeah.
What's the first record? No Place to Run?
No Place to Run. That's my favorite UFO album.
That's a killer record.
Oh
man.
my God, the songs are incredible.
Absolutely. What was his nickname? Tonka?
Yeah.
Tonka.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, he's no stranger to the alcohol. Was, anyways.
He was a guy,
Him
if he
and
was alive, I would love to have him on the show, but
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
huge,
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
fan
Him,
of his.
him and Pete Way were quite the tag team.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Now, I do want to take you back to stay with the first album. Me personally, as a fan, and Mark knows, I never hold back, even with guys that I love. I never liked the production on the first album.
Okay.
Did you guys have any problems with the production on it?
It problems in what way?
At least I didn't have it on vinyl. Okay, I had it on
Okay.
on CD when it first came out. I thought,
Oh, no. The CD. No.
Okay.
Really?
The CD was brutal. They used
Brutal.
the wrong It was, if you had the cassette or the vinyl, it sounds fantastic.
oh, see, I never
Actually,
had that
Really?
because it
Yeah.
came out for that time. It came out relatively early on CD, so by the time I was trying not to buy vinyl. I was at that weird period where you're trying not to
Yep.
buy vinyl, trying to get your CD collection built up, and I got it, was able to get it on import. I had a friend who had a record store.
Oh,
that did
it's
imports.
awful.
I got the CD, and the CD sounds like shit. It
It's
doesn't.
brutal. It's
What?
embarrassing.
Okay.
Michael Wagner, who produced the record,
Who's usually I like. I mean, he usually does good stuff.
he couldn't believe it. Like, because what the hell happened? Somehow, I don't know. Nobody names names, but they used the wrong EQ, whatever that means. The finish, like whatever goes to vinyl and whatever goes to cassettes, and then to the CD, they used the wrong
wow.
EQ.
I never knew
So
this.
everything, all the volume was all down. Like it just
It's muddy.
lost-
It's very muddy.
muddy, lost all its like. It's embarrassing. It's
Wow.
embarrassing. But if you go to Spotify and iTunes now, you'll hear the real mix.
Okay.
So if you want to give it another shot, but
Because
I
for
couldn't
30
agree with you
years,
more.
I mean, how many years it's been? I've always lived with this stigma. I like the first album, but it sounds like absolute shit. So
It's awful.
it's like there's only so much I can like it.
Now you know.
No,
Go get the
it's-
vinyl.
Right.
Yeah. So if you ever get a chance to hear the vinyl or a cassette, trust me, it sounds
Okay.
way better.
Wow.
10 times better. It's not even, you can't even compare it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what a shame,
Yeah.
because it was at that point where CDs were starting to like kick in with popularity. So
Well-
a lot of people, like I've looked on websites, like Heavy Harmonies, where you'll have like a 50 people give their opinions, and everybody says the same thing. Oh, good record, but it sounds like shit, sounds like shit, sounds like shit. Because
Yeah.
everybody bought the friggin' CD,
I know. See, back then, when that first record came out, you had to sell so many units, whether it's vinyl or cassette, to be worthy of being put on CD. 'Cause
That's correct.
It wasn't automatic. So
That's right.
once we got up to like 35,000 in Canada,
put it out on CD.
Now
Yeah.
we're going to put it on CD, and then somebody dropped the ball big time.
Wow.
And yeah, so yeah. It's
Interesting.
unfortunate, we've, all these years later, we were hoping that somebody would, remaster it and put it back
Remastered
out.
that. I mean, talk about a record that needs to be remastered.
Sure.
That's at the top. of
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. But it just never happened, So
Okay, so you understand my critique. It was because
I
my
couldn't
ears.
agree more.
My
I'm totally
ears only
embarrassed
know
with
that.
CD.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
ears
yeah.
only know that the CD version of it.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think Michael Wagner, when he put his website together, he was so embarrassed with that CD, he took it off. So if you look at his discography, you won't even see that record on there.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. He goes, "What the hell, man? I don't
No,
want
because
that.
I
name
always
on
liked
that."
him
Sure.
too. When we were
Yeah.
talking about this before, and Mark said to me, Michael Wagner produced that, and I'm like, wow, it's weird because it sounds like crap.
Yeah.
Little did I
yeah.
know that it was fucked up through the CD process. I didn't know that.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now everybody knows. Yeah.
Now, before we move to the second album? What was the touring? What type of backing did you get on that first album? Did you guys tour it extensively?
Well, we're always a touring band. like constantly. If you go to our website, brightonrock.ca, there's a thing there, touring history. My mother back then, every time we do a gig, we'd get an ad in the newspaper or whatever. And she literally kept track. Before we were called Brighton Rock, we were called Heart Attack.
Right.
And we got our record deal as Heart Attack, but we had to change our name because there's another band called Jack Mack and the Heart Attack on the label. They said, well, we already got a heart, you're gonna have to change the name. And so we changed the name, but I lost my train of thought.
Is that where the song Jack is Back
the
came
touring.
from?
The touring.
Oh, the touring, yes. Jack is Back. No, it was just a random song that, our singer used to love writing about serial killers and stuff like that. Like the first record was Jack is Back. We had another one, Night Stalker.
Night Stalker was on there too. Yeah, two of the better songs on the album I like a lot. Yeah.
But so we toured a lot, and then we toured all through the States, all through New York State, and all the way down to Florida, all the way over to Texas and California, all in between Chicago and Ohio, and so we did that all for the first record on a tour bus and stuff like that, and then back to Canada. We're just always crisscrossing Canada, and hoping to tour Europe. And we only got to go to England. We never, we kept getting bites. We're okay, you're going to Germany, you're going to Sweden, and this and that, and Japan. We had records over there, but it never happened. So, but we toured a lot. Mostly just Canada, though.
But you guys played with Triumph, right?
We toured with Triumph in Canada. Yeah, that was a dream for us because we're mostly a club act, and Triumph was an arena, so they're playing. So that's our first time playing in front of 20,000 people, and in Canada, the equivalent to Maple Leaf or to Madison Square Gardens is Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, and we got to. That was our dream, is to play Maple Leaf Gardens. So we got to open for Triumph at Maple Leaf Gardens, and then let us do an encore. So, I mean, that's probably the highlight of my life, that one show.
Wow.
We did a bunch of shows, Montreal and Ottawa and Halifax and all these different places. But that one show was a dream come true. Yeah. So, Triumph was great. They're a great, great band to tour with. Great guys. The crew was great. They treated us great. Yeah, it was quite a memory.
Yeah, very cool.
So this leads us into, as a fan, my opinion, your opus, which is Take a Deep Breath. And if you could tell us about how that album came together, because it kind of had a bit of a different direction. To me, as a fan, it had more of a European AOR-ish, with still that, hard rock element to it, more so than the first album.
The first one was definitely harder edged. But, the record company goes, hey, man, it's a great record, but the next record, we need something we can put on the radio. We're not going to spend all this money and you guys are just going to be a club band. We want you to be on the radio, like with the Journeys and all these Night Rangers and all these other bands. It's good to be hard rock, but you got to give us something we can, so I write like that anyways. So we got a different producer, Jack Richardson, who's a very famous producer. He sadly passed away. But he back in the day, he produced like Alice Cooper, but he did the Guess Who, and Bob Seger, Night Moves, and stuff like that. So he's definitely knows radio, so he would know how to take a song and strip all the fat off and really help us to get on radio, which is 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Right.
Like they say, hey Greg, does that guitar solo really have to be a minute long? Can we just do 4, maybe 8 bars? And okay, for the singles anyways, right? So he really helped us strip a lot of the fat off. And the guy mixing it was a guy named Andrew Scarth. And do you remember when when Paul Rogers left Bad Company and they replaced him with I forgot the singer,
Brian Howe.
That's right. And that record had some singles, right? And it sounded great on radio.
Absolutely.
Well, the guy that mixed that record, he's from England, that's the guy that mixed our record. So we flew him in from England, and he was roughly our same age as us too. He's a young guy, maybe a year or two older, and we got along like we're just brothers. So he's really made that record hi-fi sounding, so it sounded great on
Oh
record.
yeah, it's a great sounding record, and it's great on the CD too.
Yeah, that's our biggest biggest selling record too, for sure. And yeah, so we recorded that in Toronto, just like the first record, and it was, they loved it over in England and stuff like that. So
Oh
we got the
yeah.
tour. We got to tour all through England, and that was a dream come true. Being young guys and getting out of Canada and going to a new country, and like, wow, this is where the Beatles are.
Yeah.
This is So that was that was a great time for us. This probably the highlight of our career, I think.
And the album, and you probably guys weren't doing it on purpose, but it reminded me of a lot of the European bands of that time. Bands like Alien and Skagerrak, Da Vinci. That it was that same style. And when the band broke this album, at the time I was writing for some European, actually British magazines, and the AOR guys went nuts for this album. Nuts. I mean, became like a cult classic type of album, which I think you guys, unless you continue to do those type of albums, you could have never lived up to like what this album was.
Yeah, I mean, all my favorite bands were the European bands and English bands, like other than Rush and Triumph, a lot of the Canadian bands that were popular, they were always a little too safe for me. They didn't, I don't want to name bands names and stuff, but they always kind of sounded cliche to me, and I loved a lot like UFO and Scorpions and Judas Priest and all those bands. Led Zeppelin, of course, Queen, so I'm heavily influenced by that style of music.
It had a European sound to it, that album.
Yeah, and that was our influences. Same with the other guys in the band. We all love that music. We worship that music, and to this day, I still think it's killer.
What was the writing process for stuff like Outlaw and High and Dry? I mean, those songs are just phenomenal songs.
I used to have a 4-track, and I still write this way to this day. I get a riff or a lot of times vocal melodies. When I'm driving around, I can just, without guitar, I just get melodies in my head, and what is that? Why do I keep going back to that melody? So then I get a guitar and start finding chords that fit the melody, and I put it on a 4-track, and then maybe add a little bass just to get the basis of a song. And then I'd show Jerry, our singer, hey man, what do you think of this melody? He goes, yeah, I like that. And then he would write words to the melody. So basically all the songs you hear, like Outlaw and stuff like that, and Hanging High and Dry, those are my vocal melodies. So I would literally hum what Jerry would sing over top of the chord progressions, and he would take that melody. He'd do little changes here and there to suit his voice, but he would have a basis of a song and then write words to it. And that's how we did every record. And I still do that with, my new bands, stuff like that too. So that's the way I've always written.
One More Try was another song like that, similar, like the way it was written.
That's the one song where I didn't write. I helped with the bridge, but our keyboard player came up with that one, and Jerry wrote the vocal melody himself. Our keyboard player came with that chord progression, the piano part,
right? And
Jerry started singing over top of it, and that became the song. It's like, well, no need for me to put my nose in that one.
What a great
that
song.
It just kind of just wrote itself once Jerry got a hold of it. And when the chorus kicked in, I mean, that's, he nails it vocally. So.
Tremendous. Did you guys know that I mean, that was really a great album. Did you know that, like, when the finished product was done, did you know that we have something here that's a little bit more than the standard album?
Well, when you write a song, like I said, I'm recording everything on a 4-track, so it sounds really lo-fi, you know what I mean? So you start getting used to it, you're driving around and listening to that same thing, and then you go into a real recording studio with the record producer, and they just bring it to life. So all of a sudden you're blown away. So everything you write to me is like, man, this song's gonna be massive. Every
Right.
song,
Right.
we think that with every record, and like
Yeah.
it's so uplifting because it's such a change. And so we always felt strong. If we didn't feel that way, the song would never make the record. So we were always, we did a lot of pre-production, uh, meaning we rehearsed those songs to death. So literally, when we went in the studio, there's no farting around. We literally, okay, you guys ready? Let's bang it off, right? Maybe a few overdubs here and there. So yeah, so when you hear it back, wow, it's so much better than I could imagine, and then you start adding the icings on the cake, little bells and whistles here and stuff like that, and it just so. But we thought the first record was going to be like that too.
Mm.
We thought our third record was going to be like that too. Like wake up, people, hear this.
Right.
But it all comes down to if the record company's going to push it, and if all the stars align for you, whether the world gets to hear. So
Sure. Yeah. Well,
So this is 88 now, this second album. You're like really at the apex of this sound. Did you guys find that you had with this second album you had moved up the rung of the ladder in terms of where you wanted to go in terms of touring and record sales and popularity? Did you see that difference from 86 to 88?
Well, for sure, because that record went gold in Canada, and so all of a sudden we're playing everywhere we go is sold out. Now we're playing bigger places, and people are recognizing us, and our videos are getting played like all over the place, stuff like that. So yeah, you definitely notice it was so exciting back then. That particular time was
Oh yeah, 88
the
was magic.
best.
Magic.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like I said, we got to go over to England, which was unbelievable for us, right? So yeah, that was the highlight of my life.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
You had something you want to ask?
No, I was just going to say when you were talking about that you did a lot of pre-production and rehearsals. So I think didn't like Carl Dixon when we had him on. I think he said that was kind of like a Coney Hatch thing too. That they did a ton of pre-production on before they went into the studio. So when they went in, they could just bang it out. I think that's what he said, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way you should do it because you should be able to go in and play the song without thinking about what you're playing, so it doesn't sound stiff.
Mm.
You know what I mean? When you can play it without even thinking about it, like we're playing on tour, or you're playing the same songs over there. You know the song so well. I could literally be playing and having a conversation
Mm.
with our bass player. Hey man, what are we doing after the show? And not make a mistake because
Yeah.
you just know. So when you go in the studio like that, it's perfect, right? Because all the intentions are there. You can play with attitude, and you're not worried. You don't tense up, and it
Yeah.
sounds stiff. So it sounds more live and stuff like that. Plus, you're saving a ton of money. I mean,
Right.
back
Yeah.
then,
Studios
rec-
aren't
you
cheap.
know, no, it's very expensive. Well, especially the high end studios that we were
Sure.
working in, right? We were at the Phase One Studios was the premier recording studio in Canada at the time. That was the number one, and that's where we were recording. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey man, don't be wasting any time. The clock is ticking. Let's go. So we go in there and bang them up, and yeah. So
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
So my next question is before we get to the third album, why did it take 3 years on that album?
for
80 From 88 to 91 with Love Machine.
um, did it take that long? For some reason, I think this. Okay, 88.
Love Machine was
89.
91. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, touring and just well at the time because okay, the first record, like I mentioned, we got signed to Adco Atlantic Records in America, um, but they dropped us for the second record, so we didn't have an American record deal. We just had a Canadian and European, and
Oh,
Japan.
okay. I see.
So we were just signed to WIA now in Canada and all over Europe and England and Japan, but we didn't have a deal in America anymore. So meanwhile, our biggest record in Canada, it's going gold, but nobody in the States even knows anything about it. So when that second record was done, and it's like what's going on, man? We can't get any tours anymore. we're supposed to be going tour with AC/DC. You're supposed to tour Europe with Cinderella. Like all these things that was happening. It's happening, guys. It's happening, and then everything would fall through.
Mm.
And it's like, man, other than Triumph, we never really did any big tours opening for other big bands. So when the third record came out, it's like, for us to make it in the States, we got to have American management. We got to have American deal, or we're just going to just fade to oblivion here. So we fired our manager and we asked to be released like soon, like instead of waiting for the whole thing to run out for our third record. Can you release us now so we can start shopping now so we're not tied? So they were nice enough to release us so then we could shop in the States. So we had management all lined up and stuff like this, and nothing happened. And all the guys that were going to sign, oh yeah, get rid of your manager, we'll sign, guys that are managing Tesla and stuff like that. And back then, and nothing happened. It all started falling through. So, we were like in limbo trying to get everything together. But yeah, that was tough. So when the third record came out, we never had any manager anymore. So we were literally managing ourselves. And that took a while to get that going, So that's probably, I hope that's answering your question.
Yeah, no, only because, and we'll expound on this a little bit. The difference between 90 and 91 was a big year, because 91 is when things started to really tip. And that album came out in 91. And like 90, like there were still a lot of bands like you guys that were coming out and putting out great stuff in 90. And 91, there still was great music, but it was already, started to hear guys losing deals, guys getting dropped, so like Love Machine came out in 91. Now it was a bit of a lightning rod album for Brighton Rock fans, because I know myself, at the time I was writing for quite a few magazines in Europe. The AOR guys were put off by it because they felt like you abandoned the AOR stuff. But there were a lot of guys like myself, which I'm a hard rocker at heart, even though I do like AOR. I loved it. So it had kind of like a dividing, like a fan base, like kind of, it's like, who are you guys? Are these great AOR guys? Or are you like hard rockers? When you were writing this album, did you realize that you were leaving behind potentially this AOR base that you had developed?
Well, at the time, bands like Skid Row were really starting to make, a dent, and like the pretty boy look was starting to change. I mean, if you look at even like bands like Motley Crue, they're all, if you look at like the girls and Theater of Pain, the way they're all glammy looking, and then by Dr. Feelgood, now they're just wearing leather jackets, so, so it really changed.
Oh, there are a lot of bands that did that,
yeah. So we kind of felt like, hey man, we're gonna, if we go out there again the way we're just gonna be labeled as a wimpy band, and we're gonna get pushed aside. So we got to toughen up our sound. And so we got rid of the keyboards, and there's literally no keyboards on that record other than piano and some organ. There's no strings, there's no synthesizers, and most of the songs there's nothing but just guitar. So we really wanted to toughen up our sound, because that's what we wanted to do. And we thought, if it worked, if it doesn't work, maybe when we do a fourth record, we can kind of go back and do it the other way, kind of, we didn't want to be one style every single record, like I mentioned earlier, so we're changing up our sound. And it's like, back in the day when Led Zeppelin released their third record, everybody's going, what the heck, man? We're
absolutely
other than the Immigrant song, like, what's going on? Everything's acoustic and it's country sounding, like, people were flipping out back then. So
absolutely. And I was one of them, because I'm older than you guys. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But then looking back, if you look at the whole catalog, it's great, right? You got, it's,
And then their fourth album was super heavy. Yes. Right. So.
Right. So that's what we were just trying to make it up as we were going along. But we wanted to toughen up our sound for sure, because that was the musical climate at the time. You know,
It
bands like
was.
Pantera were starting to make notice and stuff like that. Like, you know, it's like, hey, we can't be the little big hair fluffy band anymore. We got to really toughen it up. And but you know, other than we had one ballad on, or a couple of ballads, "Magic Is Back" and "Still the One," but everything else
Still
on
the
there,
one, yeah. Hmm.
yeah, other than those two songs, everything's really hard edged, and that's what we
Very.
want. Plus, they're so fun to play live. You know, when you really can really rock out. You know, so that was a great. A lot of the songs on that record were great to play live, like "Bulletproof"
A
our lead off
Bulletproof
track.
is awesome. I mean, when I
Yeah,
first heard that song, I was like, "This is fucking killer."
Mhm.
The
yeah,
guitar riff and he played. You know, his vocals came over so great with
yeah.
that style, because that
Oh,
was
for
really
sure.
the first time that he was like singing like, almost like metal stuff. And you
Yeah,
heard that
man.
this guy is just like right in your grill with the vocals, and
Yep,
you
yep,
had the big guitar, but there were a lot of bands in the States that were starting to do that. And you mentioned Skid Row. If you
Yeah.
look at Skid
yep.
Row on the first album, they were pretty much, they had all the popular songs, the hair metal, pretty boy stuff. Second album was much
Oh,
heavier. The third album was even heavier.
That's right.
Danger did the same thing. XYZ did the same thing. They got
Yep.
heavier, more guitar based. It was, and you're right. It was like guys were starting to move away from, the pretty boy thing, because the scene had already started to
Mm.
tip a little bit, and you knew you had to like
Well,
gravitate.
yeah, you know, back in my first record when it came out in 85, 86, the musical climate for our style of music wasn't so saturated, you know. So by the
No, it
time
wasn't.
1990, all the companies were signing all these bands, baby bands, and they're all
Hmm.
like pretty and ballads and wimpy songs. And then it was too much. So it's like to stand out, it's like, well, we're gonna have to start playing heavier because we don't want to be lumped in with those bands, you know. So yeah, that's what we did. But yeah, I don't know. We love that record, but it didn't set the world on fire, and I still stand by it. I mean, I love every song on that
I
record for
love that
sure.
album too. I really do. I mean, my favorite will always be the second one, but
Yep.
I really love that album, and it's just a shame that it didn't take off. But you know what? Even all those U.S. bands that did that, they didn't really take off either, because
No.
right behind it was the end.
Grunge.
Yep. Yep. That's what
Now, a band
happens.
that we both love, XYZ, they did that on what was their third album at the time too. They got much heavier. Danger did it, and there were a
Yep.
whole bunch of bands that did it, and they all got dropped the following year. So
Yeah, it was pretty sad.
it
Pretty
really,
scary for
yeah, it really, it didn't matter where you were on the spectrum. Everybody, the follow by '92, it was everybody was
it's
dumped.
that's right, you know. And now all those bands are making they're all back and doing well. I mean, I remember reading an article not too long ago. Wasn't Slaughter, it was with Warrant. The
Mhm.
one guitar player said he makes more money now
Oh yeah,
playing than he did back when they were in their heyday.
yeah. Joey
I
Allen. I
wanted,
saw that
Well, they
recently.
did it too.
yeah,
Warren did it also. They
yeah,
got heavier, and then Warren went through their, when Janie was still alive. They went through their period where they were actually doing alternative sounding albums that were
right.
still
And
good.
that's,
Yeah.
when we broke up after Love Machine, I was pretty devastated because I still wanted to keep it going. But looking back now, I'm glad we did when we did, because I remember when Dawkins put that one record out and it was kind of really alternative sounding.
Shadow
Shadow
Life.
Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck, man? Like they're trying to fit in what I don't know. Maybe they were being authentic. I mean, I should be knocking that,
And
but
there's some bands that were able to do it if you really had the songs. Like Mike Tramp had started his own
yeah,
thing called
Freak of Nature.
Freak of Nature.
right.
But he had all metal guys that were in the band, and the songs were phenomenal. So there
Right.
was some bands that were able to do that, but like Dokken, it just didn't go over well.
Yeah. So if, for us to fit in, we would have to change our sound. And to me, that's not being true to yourself. I mean, I
No.
wouldn't be able to live with myself knowing that I'm just playing the game now instead of, being real,
Yeah.
so. Yeah. So anyways, we had a good run there for a while.
Yeah. Well, let's jump ahead to, you said the last album, Love Machine. Jump ahead to 2000. You started the band Phrase Gang, right? With Stevie.
Mhm.
How did that all come about?
Well, in the meantime, all those years, I continued to write. I mean, you know, uh, a lot of guitar players, when they pick up, they just start wailing on leads. I pick up, I try to right off the bat just come up with something I never played before. And all of a sudden a riff will appear. So I'm always, now with the phone, I got a million riffs. I'm always writing and writing and writing. And then certain songs I'd complete songs that have a complete melody, a complete music, bass, some drum patterns are going, man, it's a shame. These songs are all done and I got no outlet, So I started auditioning singers, trying to find the right guy. And, it's kind of hard to compete with Jerry, our singer in Brighton
Yeah.
Rock. So then what I would do, I would sing on the record as a reference. So, I'd write the lyrics and, okay, here's how the song goes. Here's basically how I kind of want the vocals to go, and bring somebody in, they'd reproduce what I sang. And for some reason or another, it never was quite right. And Stevie, and our drummer, Phil, at the time, to go, you know what? We like your vocals. You're not Pavarotti there, but it fits the songs. It has the right attitude for the song. Why don't you just sing? And it's like, all right. So they kind of boosted my confidence. So I ended up singing everything on the record, and we released a second record too, which was produced by Bo Hill, the
Hmm.
second record. And
Just called
yeah,
Two.
so
Just called
Phrase Gang too.
Two.
Pretty original sounding.
Right.
But yeah, so but the thing we started playing some live dates, and I really struggled as a lead singer. I never intended to be a lead singer. I always wanted a front man. I always wanted to be Jimmy Page, and there's Robert Plant, Eddie
Yeah.
Van Halen, Dave Lee Roth, Keith
Right.
Richards. I've always wanted that front man guy, and all of a sudden I'm the front man, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy myself playing live. Uh, I had a hard time remembering all the words.
Mhm.
Like, even though I wrote them, I'm going, so I have all these cheat sheets, and then, I'm trying to remember the words, and I'm trying to remember the guitar, and it's like, it was too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when that second record was done, I go, I don't know, guys, we got to take a little break. And that's when that happened. That's when we got, Brighton Rock got offered to play this festival over in England called Firefest,
Right.
which is a pretty huge festival at the time. And so we regrouped and went over there, and then that became, hey man, this, the response we got was unbelievable. Like, holy shit, what? How is this possible? Like, it was
People
like
still remember, right?
Yes, like this is like 1988 and 89 all over again. People are, and by the way, when you guys are done, each band, you go down and there's an autograph thing down there. You can sign autographs and T-shirts. I'm going, oh no, I was going to be embarrassed. Spinal Tap. We go down there and there's a lineup. I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy. People are
That's the
coming
way
up,
European
"Man,
fans are, though, especially
yeah,
with
there's people from Japan came in just to see us. They're going, man, I've been waiting my whole life to see you. And we're going, this is unreal.
much
right?
more
So,
dedicated than Americans and Canadians, the Europeans and the
unbelievable.
Japanese. Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing is, I don't think grunge music really took off over there like
It
it
didn't.
did. Yeah, so those bands still could survive over there, like that melodic rock,
Yep.
rock. So yeah, so we decided to, man, hey, let's take another kick at this can here, man. It really boosted our confidence and stuff like that. So we just tried to do another record, and we couldn't get it going. Because back in the day we were a full-time band, 24/7. Everything was Brighton Rock, but now we got married, kids, we're living in all different cities. Just getting together to rehearse was a nightmare, let alone trying to, block time for, like, hey man, for us to do a record, we're gonna have to block 2-3 weeks in a row and do it every day. We could never do it. Sorry, man. I got, we could never do it. So we tried doing it, got a few songs almost finished, and then it was like, look, guys, it's not happening. So we just played more live gigs once in a while, 2 or 3, maybe 5 gigs a year. ended up playing the Monsters of Rock cruise in
Right.
2019, that was our final shows.
Mm.
So we kind of ended on a high note, Monsters of Rock cruise, that was real cool because we were playing with Extreme and
Yeah.
all these other big bands, so for us to be on that same level was very gratifying,
Yeah.
so.
Well, fans got, you mentioned, you tried to start to record a new album, but at least we got the song "End of Time," right? As
Yeah,
just a digital single, was that?
that's all it was. Yeah, it's only on YouTube, but I'm not sure. You might get it on Spotify and iTunes. I'm
I think
not
it's
even
on
sure.
Tidal. I use Tidal myself, and I know it's on
Okay,
there. Yeah, so I'm sure it's on
okay.
Spotify. Yeah.
I've never did title. Is Young Wild and Free on there? I wonder. Do you know? Or
Yes. Yeah, it is.
okay, okay. So I'm wondering if it's the proper sound.
I'd have to do an A/B comparison.
But Tom, please go to iTunes or Spotify
I'm
and
gonna have
listen
to,
to
and I never
Young Wild and
realized.
Free.
All these years, I never knew there was I just assumed that it was a shitty produced album,
No, it
and
was
I had to
very
go
well
there with
produced.
you, not realizing that it was
No,
only on CD.
yeah, yeah.
I actually jumped ahead a little bit. We went to the Phrase Gang stuff, but let's talk about right after Brighton Rock broke up around 1992. Couple things I wanted to ask you. You kind of got together with some of the Triumph guys and did some writing. Is that true?
Yeah, well, Rick Emmett left. He quit the
Right.
band, so they were going to do a new record with Gil Moore. He was going to be the lead singer, and they were looking for songs. And because we toured with Triumph, and so Gil, the drummer, got a hold of Jerry. He goes, "Hey, what's Phrase up to, man? I know he writes all the songs." He goes, "Does he have any songs?" I go, "I'll give him a call." So he called me and goes, "Yeah, Gil and Mike want to know if you got some songs for the record." So I went up to the Metalworks studio, which is a studio they still have to this day.
Right.
Very successful studio, and presented my song, did a little writing with them, and but nothing made the record. And Phil X, who's with
Right.
Bon Jovi now,
Right.
he became the guitar player for that record,
Yeah.
and they did a little mini tour.
Yeah.
But I think the record company, I forget what happened. I remember not too long ago, Gil was saying that the record, when it got released, the record company went out of business or something happened where
Mm.
everything just stopped.
Yeah. No
And that was it.
promotion for it. Yeah.
No promotion, and that was it. They did a handful of shows, and they called it a day, and they never played together ever since. So,
Mm.
but that was exciting, to a band. I remember listening to Triumph when I was a little teenager. And like to be on that same level as your peers, like, hey man, we think
Yeah.
you might have something we could use. Like, so that was a real huge kick in the butt for me, man.
Yeah.
I look back on that fondly, even though none of the songs made the record, but it was still pretty awesome,
That's cool.
being
Yeah.
around those guys. Yeah.
So, and then jump ahead in the following year, 1993, Canadian legends Helix. You have some
Yeah.
involvement there. Talk a little bit about that.
They're one of their founding guitar players, Paul Hackman, unfortunately passed away uh, when they were on tour. Their van went off a cliff or
Hmm.
something like that, and he passed away, unfortunately. And I wasn't playing, and we did lots of shows with Helix back in the day. So, and the bass player, he lives even to this day. He lives like 20 minutes away from me, Daryl. And he goes, "Hey man, actually at the time we were on weekends we had a little cover band. We just up around the area just to make some extra money, and we're looking for a new guitar player. You interested maybe auditioning?" Yeah, okay, I wouldn't mind going back on tour. So, did the audition, passed the audition, and went on tour. I was with them for about maybe 2, 3 years. Well, like you mentioned, that's right in the heart of the grunge was in full
Yeah.
effect, man. By '94,
Sure.
so we did a record. It's a business doing pleasure. So that was the record we were touring with. And if you see the record, you'll see my picture on there.
Hmm.
I get credit for guitar, but in actual fact, I'm not on that record at all. None of
Ah,
the guys in Helix were on that record at all.
That's what
Even
I've
though,
always heard. Right. It was a
yeah,
Brian Volmer solo album.
that's. I'm pretty sure that's what he had a guy out of New York, a very popular. a guy named Mark Ribler. Do you know that name?
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the guy that pretty much wrote that record, and I think he might have produced it too. I love that record. To me, that's a fantastic record.
There's a
Really,
lot of
really,
people. I mean, I like that record too, but it's got a cult following, that album. A lot of
yeah.
people
So
really thought that was a great album.
great, some killer songs on it.
Yeah.
Like Good to the Last Drop, like
Hmm.
really, really well written songs. And Brian, the singer of Helix, I'm pretty sure he was just shopping that as a solo.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what I
gonna put
always
a
heard.
song,
Yeah.
and then Aquarius Records go look at. We love the record, but Helix is a name, it's a brand.
Oh,
Brian
yeah.
Vollmer, it's you're starting over. For us, we need some juice. So if you want us to sign in, we're gonna have to call it Helix. So that's what they did. So
Hmm.
then the Helix guys and myself, were on that record, but we're not really on that record. But everybody thinks we are.
Right.
And
That's what I thought.
yeah. So then we toured the record, and it was tough, but we had some great times. I mean, I love those guys. It was a great time. But I was now a sideman, where instead of me being a founding member where you have a
Hmm.
huge say in the songwriting. Now I'm just strictly a sideman. And, it was cool for a while, but I kind of said, I kind of wish, I had my own band back. I missed the Brighton Rock feel of things and so I eventually left and started doing the phrase gang stuff a little while later. And yeah, so here we are.
We'll go back to a little more current times here. 2017, you talk about wanting to do something on your own again, be more of the in the front and center of it. The band Stormforce is put together, right?
Yeah, so it was the same thing as Phrase Gang. In the meantime, I just keep writing songs, and I started, we're trying to do the Brighton Rock record. I had all these songs accumulated, but we couldn't get nothing off the ground. So they're just sitting there, a bunch of the songs, and I was like, man, I have some local musicians. I said, hey, do you mind? There's a drummer not too far from here, Brian Hamilton. He had a little studio. I go, hey, any chance I can, do some recording at your studio? He goes, yeah, man, I'll play drums for sure. So I got, a bass player and we got Pat, our singer in store for us. Look, I just want to hear what it sounds like finished. I miss being in a recording studio, hearing my finished songs and stuff like that. So we did one song. It's like, that sounds damn good, man. So I did more and more and more. Next thing you know, we had enough for a record, and I said, I think we should shop this. You never know. So then we ended up getting a deal with Escape out of the UK,
Tom's good
and
buddy,
Oh,
Khalil Turk.
Khalil Turk signed that.
yeah, he signed us, and yeah, so then we had a record out, and that was 2020 when it came out, and 5 years later, we're still trying to get Stormforce 2 out, and it is done. I promise it's done, but
Okay.
we're still struggling to get it out, but it is done. It's just a matter of getting all the mixes done. But yeah, so I'm very excited about it's like old times for me. I'm back writing the way I always wrote. I'm not trying to fit into grunge and whatever the power pop and all that. I'm just writing what I love as music, whether it be European style, whatever it is. And that's what the first Stormforce record is. And then, hopefully the Stormforce 2 will be a step up from that.
Mm. Well, talking about the first Stormforce, Age of Fear,
Mhm.
2020, you said came out. I mean, I was listening to the album recently, and I really, like you said, I hear so much diversity in it. You have the opening song, you guys come in with this like orchestration, and then he's almost like Who sounding keyboards kick in.
Yeah.
And then the album kicks in, and I even hear in the singer, I hear a little bit of like that Brighton Rock feel,
Oh, yeah.
with
Yeah.
that sound. And then, but then you have a song like More Than You Know, which to me had
Hmm.
the acoustics with, interspersed with the electric guitar, very like Triumph feeling.
For
The,
sure.
the Rick Emmett tones, even on your guitar, has that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
great ballads. There's like 3 or 4 ballads on the album, right? And then some
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
rockers. So it's got like a lot of diversity, which I almost is full circle going back to that Brighton Rock thing we talked about. The ballads, the heavy
Yeah.
metal rocker songs.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think you got it right there, and I'm really looking forward to number 2. That's for sure.
Oh, I can't wait for everybody to hear it. I'm so looking forward to getting it out there. And I appreciate everything you just said. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's we're proud of that record.
Yeah. Well, where can people? You mentioned earlier before we started. You said you have a website for Strike Force
We have a website,
or Storm Force. I'm sorry.
Stormforce.ca is the website. And then, we're on Facebook and Instagram and whatever the other ones are. We're on all that stuff. But you can hear it on iTunes and all the Spotify and I'm pretty
Right.
sure Tidal and all the other ones.
Yeah,
We have
it's
a
on there.
link. Yeah, we have a link on the website. It has all the different places you can, if you don't want to buy us, we do have CDs for people that still want them.
Two,
And
two
people
of us,
still,
both of us.
yeah, yeah.
Physical guys, physical product.
I still love it. I miss it, man. I miss them, but yeah. So if you want to buy the CD, or you can just you can go up there and click on a link and hear the whole record, So yeah.
Great. Was there something you wanted to add in?
I do. One more question, and I could be totally off base on this. Were you ever in a project with the singer from Bo Nasty, Mark Anthony Fretz?
Yes.
I had
Well,
read
Mark,
about this years ago because I was a huge fan of his. I followed him. He was in a band up in Buffalo in the 80s called Zillion. Then he was in a band called Tokyo Rose, and of course, Bo Nasty. And
yeah.
I don't know why I remembered this, but so I was accurate on that.
When I was 15, just turning 16, I was in a like a little high school type of band, and Mark got wind of me. I was playing with some local guys, and Mark got wind of me. I live in Niagara Falls. He lives in a city called Welland, which is right next door. So from my house to his house is maybe 25 minutes.
Hmm.
But he was a couple years older than me, so he was already playing in bars, and he needed a guitar player for. He had a band that was playing a New Year's gig in Welland, and they got wind of me. He goes, "Hey, this guy Greg Fraser, he's a young guy. He could probably play all that stuff." So we were playing Rush and then the Doom Brothers, and it was a weird. It
Really?
was a
Okay.
weird. Yeah, it was weird set list. But I remember playing. What's the guy that produced Pink Floyd there? Oh shoot, I forgot his name. Anyways, it's a weird style of music, but so he got me, and then he didn't like that band because they're too commercial. He wanted to do an original band, so he was also playing a band called Pharaoh, and these guys are all in their early 20s. They're already a touring band, and the one guitar player left. So he goes, "Get this guy. He's too young, man. He's only like 16. We got dates line. We got to go on tour." So I went down and played, and they go, "No, we got to get this guy." So I had to quit high school because of Mark Fretz. I quit high school, so all I got's a grade. To this day, all I got is grade 10. I never went past grade 10 to go on tour with Mark and this band called Pharaoh.
Wow.
And we played about 50% originals and 50% covers. We were playing back then, we were playing Judas Priest and Scorpions and UFO. These bands weren't on the radio yet. This is way before, you got another thing coming in like the commercial stuff. This is back when the Scorpions still had Uli Roth and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So we were playing all that stuff back then, and so a lot of people thought we were playing originals because sometimes Mark wouldn't announce that, "Hey, this is Judas Priest. We just played." And, "Oh, that was that one song you guys did, the Ripper."
Right.
And he was like, "Yeah, oh, thanks, man." Who would even say it was Judas Priest, eh? But yeah, so because of Mark, he's pretty much the reason why I became a full-time musician. Like
Wow.
at the time, I was just playing with my buddies in a bar. I wanted to be a rock star, but you don't really know how to do that, right? You need somebody
Hmm.
that's kind of been doing it to lead you that way. And Mark was that guy, and he was a great singer, man. Mark was a great singer, great front
Terrific
man.
singer. And I never understood how that guy, I mean, other than really Bo Nasty was like the only thing he was in, and that was for a cup of coffee. He was
That's right.
great singer.
Yeah,
He,
it's
I
go
guess
ahead.
after he was with you, he was in a band called Zillion that played out of Buffalo with Mike
Okay,
Torana who became a huge drummer, was the drummer on it. And it was the name, they had a cassette out called For Headbangers Only, like 86 ish. And then he went on to a band called Tokyo, Tokio Rose, that had Mike Tirana and George Bernhardt in it.
Right.
And that band actually turned into Bo Nasty.
Right. It's funny because when Pharaoh, we couldn't get a deal and stuff like that. Mark ended up leaving, trying to find another band to play with, because we were at the time when I was in Pharaoh with Mark, we were just playing a lot of shitty gigs, in Canada and stuff like that. And most of these bars back then, they wanted top 40, so we were really too heavy for a lot of these places, So the gigs were, we do good but not great, so the money was crap. And then as time goes on, like Mark's going, this is a dead end, man, I gotta spread my wings. So then he left, and I never seen him again. And to this day, I every once in a while I'll look his name up. I go, I'll Google Mark Threats, and I'll go on Facebook and Instagram and whatever, and I can't.
He's nowhere to be found. I've looked for him too.
Nowhere to be found. So I have no idea whatever happened to Mark. And Mark, if you listen to this, I'm thinking about you, buddy.
Me too. Yeah, I one of the great, like one of those great vocal talents that just, poof.
And so I'm like you. Whatever happened to Mark Threats? So.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked you that question, because I wasn't sure. Like, it was something I remember hearing years ago. And I wasn't even sure whether it really was accurate that you had an attachment to him, but I'm glad I asked you.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I actually have a poster of us, and I'll send it to you, with us on stage, me and Mark and stuff like that. So you'll get a kick.
Oh, I'd love to see that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Well, I've been doing this, Greg, for a couple episodes. We've had some guests on now, and I like to end things with like on a silly or funny note,
sure,
and just get a little bit like crazy here. But I'm going to throw you a couple things out here, a couple questions, and it's just kind of like one or the other. What's your favorite type of thing?
Okay.
So we'll get a little fun here and silly. First one I'm going to say, Tim Hortons or Starbucks?
Oh, Tim Hortons.
Of course. I knew it had to be. I knew that. I knew that was going to be the answer, but I had to ask.
No, it's Tim Hortons. Without hesitation.
Okay, ready. Second thing I'm going to throw at you, Rush or Triumph?
Rush.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd have to be Rush, but I love Triumph, man. They got some killer songs, but early Rush, everything until Terry Brown was no longer their producer.
Mm-hmm.
I love those. I worship those.
Which
records.
Would be what album? I mean, I'm a Rush fan, but maybe not on the level
I'm pretty
of you guys.
sure Moving Pictures might have been Terry Brown's last record. I'm not.
Oh, it's that early on? Okay.
Yeah, and then once he left or got asked to leave, whatever, they started getting other producers. And then they started getting too much into the keyboards and the guitars.
I really like that period of them.
Did you? I kind of miss, I miss the raunchy guitars. Now they're starting to sound too clean sounding, and the drums weren't in your face anymore. They're kind of pushed back and
they kind of adapted the sound of that time. They were kind of like became like a Canadian Asia,
Sure.
Right. And that was.
And you can't fault them. You can't fault them. You got to spread your wings, and So your answers would be Rush, I guess. Yeah.
Third one.
How about you guys? I want to ask you that same question: Rush or Triumph?
Me personally, Triumph.
I'd have to say Rush also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. All right.
As much as I do love both.
I'll be honest with you. I'm older than you guys, so I grew up in that 70s prog thing, and I was huge into it. King Crimson, Yes, ELP. So when that early Rush stuff broke, and guys that were younger than me, like Mark's in his 50s, you're in your early 60s, I'm in my later 60s, I wasn't as knocked out by it as maybe guys that were younger than me, because I kind of heard it before. It was good. So like a lot of that early Rush stuff, like that crazy over the top stuff, the prog stuff that guys were losing their mind. I had heard it already. I lived through the 70s. So Triumph for me, Rick Emmett, in his prime, I still think he maybe was the greatest musician for all of,
Well, he was a prog guy. Like that was his influence was Yes. and
I know.
Genesis and all that stuff.
I know.
And Mike and Gil were more Zeppelin and more
Right.
meat and potatoes, and that's
Yes.
what the combination.
Yes.
That's what gave them their sound.
It's like if you look at them at the US Festival in '83,
Yep.
that guy on the stage, to me, I venture to anybody to tell me who is a more talented bastard than that
Oh
guy
yeah, man, for
at
sure.
that time.
He
Great double threat.
still is, man. He's still a killer guitar player.
I bet.
He's got unbelievable. Not just rock. He can play jazz.
No, I know.
Like
We follow him.
classical.
Yes.
Country. It's like, my God, like he's and he's in his 70s and he
I
still
know.
plays every day, man. He's a monster guitar
So
player,
for me,
sure.
Triumph. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
For the reasons stated.
The next one we're gonna go to. This one is funny. Gangbang or Cocaine? The songs, of course, but
I like Gangbang probably better. I mean, I don't know if you're
Cocaine was a
familiar-
cover. Yeah.
okay.
It was a cover.
Well, same as Gangbang. That was
Was it really?
Alex Harvey. If
Oh, that's
you-
an
if you
Alex
ever-
Harvey song. Okay.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I just recently found the press of that album that has Gangbang on it on CD.
Yeah, so if you ever search Alex Harvey Gangbang, and that's I always thought, I go, what a, other than the lyric, right? Because the record
Right.
company banned, they wouldn't let us put that on the
Right.
record
Yeah.
because of that. Especially now, I mean, Gangbang now.
Yeah. Right,
you
forget
know?
about it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Anybody that's woke would be go, oh my God, right? But
Yeah.
but it's such a great song, like it's great chorus and but the Cocaine, the cover we did, that was pure accident. When our third record was produced by a guy named Kobe Wright. He worked very closely with a guy named Ron Nevison.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
look up Ron Nevison's a legendary producer.
Forget
Well,
it.
Sure.
Kobe that was his engineer. So like Night Range or Damn Yankees and Heart and Kiss, Crazy Nights and all those Ron Nevison records. Toby was the guy. He was the guy behind the board. So he wanted to branch out and become a producer. So we were the first band he ever produced. His next record was Alice in Chains.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was his next record. So then he got, that went platinum and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And so when we went down to LA to do some demos with Toby, we're talking about when we were a cover band, right? And some of the cover songs we used to do, and then somebody mentioned, yeah, we throw cocaine in there, and he goes, oh, cocaine, everybody does cocaine. He goes, well, we did a heavy metal version of
Yeah,
cocaine.
now your version is the best version of Cocaine.
He goes, really? Well, let me hear it. Record. He presses record. And we played the whole song from start to finish. He goes, what do you think? He goes, that was great. Come on and listen. They go, what? We put it in there. It's all one take. Like even my guitar, everything on there. And then we overdubbed the big gang vocals after.
Mhm.
That got overdubbed later. But
It's a great version.
Everything you hear, including lead vocals, is one take. It wasn't meant to be on that record. Just so he could hear our heavy metal version. And then, that was on the record because of that. So
I mean, the Clapton version was like he was on 4 Quaaludes, like I wish he was on cocaine. But the gang, what I never realized is that WEA repressed that album in 2016 and they put Gangbang on it, but they only pressed like 500 copies of it. And
I don't even have a copy of that. Do you have a copy of that?
I mean, tell you something. I've been looking for it for years, and oddly enough, right around the time that I booked you for this podcast, one of them showed up on eBay, and I grabbed.
Wow!
Yeah,
Wow!
they did a very small, very tiny press of it, and they put that song on the CD.
Wow! I've never seen it, and even the record company, they put a greatest hits out, and without our knowledge, all of a sudden, there's what? We got a greatest hits record? That's news to us. Yeah, so I don't even have a copy of that, but oh well, it's fun.
You don't have this T-shirt either, so you got to catch up.
I know that's a pretty wicked T-shirt, man. I forgot all about that. And it looks pretty new. I mean, considering that's like
mint.
That's
I've only
like
honestly, it's a little. I prefer extra larges. It's a large, so like I don't wear it all the time. But I figured tonight I got to wear it.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's like 1991. So
91, yeah. It's got the graphics on the back for the tour and everything. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's good stuff.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, we're legit here. No bullshit.
and then now we're going to go totally left field because we talked about this before we started. You said you still play hockey. You're Canadian.
Yep.
It's a religion. I know. I'm a big hockey fan myself, but I'm going to get really super silly with this one. So
okay.
The one or the other, you pick. Niagara Falls Flyers or the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds?
Well, I was born in Sault Ste. Marie. The Niagara Falls Flyers don't exist anymore. How do you know about the Niagara Falls Flyers? I mean, that's my youth.
I'll be honest with you. I saw you were born in Sault Ste. Marie, and I of course know the Greyhounds. You know, Wayne Gretzky's OHL team. So
yeah.
I said, let me see. I knew you guys were based out of Niagara Falls. I said, let me find a team that was based out of there, and I'll have you pick between the two.
I got to go with the Greyhounds. I mean, that's my birthplace.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty wild. That definitely out of left field. Doesn't get any more Canadian than that.
well, maybe I got one more for you, and this will be the final one. So maybe we'll go a little further left. You said you still play hockey, right?
Yeah, I do.
So you know about hockey stores buying equipment?
Yeah.
Okay. Cupolos or Great Skate?
Well, Kuplo's is where I bought all my equipment back in the day in Niagara Falls. It doesn't exist anymore. How do you know about Kuplo's?
I've been to Cupolos.
Is that right? I used to
Yes.
go to school with the son, Jay Kuplo. He was
Really?
yeah, like Kuplo's that's where you went back when you were a kid. You want to buy any equipment, they were the place to go, you know. They didn't have all these big sports chains and stuff like they do now, you know. And you want your skate sharpened, you got to go to Kuplo's. You want a new stick, you know, they were the place. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, I can't believe you pulled up that name. That's crazy.
I was talking with a friend of mine. Back in high school, like I had said, I played ice hockey, and we did a tournament up in Niagara Falls, and it was the Past Presidents Tournament, it was called, and we played up there, and we went to visit Cupolos, and, you know, that was how we know about it.
Wow. I'm stumped here, man. I mean, that's
This is a night of things we pull out across the board.
Wow. Jeez, that's crazy. Wow. Okay. What else you got up your sleeve there?
I'm topped out. I don't know about him.
That was it. But Greg, man, this was great conversation. Good stuff. Glad the stuff at the end was fun.
Oh, well, thanks for having me on, guys.
That was a pleasure.
I really appreciate you. I mean, you guys are awesome. I really enjoy your show.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to all your continued shows, and I wish you guys all the best, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that.
I'll send you a message when this is going to air. It's probably going to be in 2 weeks. We're taking a week off, and
okay.
Yeah, I'll send you a message when it's up on all the platforms.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
All right, thanks, guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you,
Greg.
Right.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Greg.
it.
Pleasure.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
Take it easy.
Take care.